Salutations, everybody! My name is Katie, and this is the OCD Illustrated channel. This is my final video talking about a specific cognitive distortion. Okay, so cognitive distortions are unhelpful, inaccurate thinking patterns, and as a group, they contribute to a variety of mental disorders because overall they make people feel crummy. Unlike many of the other distortions I've talked about, the distortion I'm talking about today is more specific just to OCD rather than generalized to anxiety, depression, anything else you can name. And it's called magical thinking. So magical thinking is when someone believes that their thoughts can change events in the world, or that specific actions that are unrelated to events will be able to change those events. And OCD loves this, because it makes you think that while you're standing on the sidewalk, if you imagine a car crash, that somehow that's going to make the cars on the street more likely to crash. That by thinking about a car crash, we did some magical wand work here, and now cars actually crash. Magical thinking might also tell someone that if they're scared a relative will die, they should always count to 4 and then their relative won't die. Right? There's no rational connection between the two. Counting to 4 is going to do nothing to keep a relative alive. But when magical thinking sets in for somebody with OCD, it feels really, really strong that they need to do that to keep the person alive. Magical thinking sort of works backwards. So something happens. Say a hurricane hits Florida. Someone does some magical thinking, comes to the conclusion that the hurricane hit Florida because they didn't pray hard enough, or they didn't pray just right. Rationally, right, there's no connection scientifically between somebody praying just right and a hurricane happening, but for somebody with OCD, when something bad happens, they look back and think that it's related to a compulsion that they maybe didn't do correctly. And sometimes magical thinking, the thoughts are sort of vaguely related to the thing they're preventing, but not real rationally. So say someone is, I'm afraid that there will be a fire. Now this is a common fear with OCD. So some people who are afraid there's a fire check electric switches, do things that, theoretically would actually prepare for it. But somebody who has more magical thinking might address this fear by only wearing the color blue and not touching anything red, because right, blue is like water, so it's protective, and red is like fire, so it's dangerous. And the magical thinking gets in there and turns this into a compulsion that, has really no connection to what it's trying to prevent. Congratulations, you now know all about magical thinking. If you thought this video was interesting, you can check out my videos on some other distortions along with other things that have to do with OCD. And check in for future videos where I'll explain how distortions can sort of link together and then how replacing them can make you feel better. So thank you for watching. Please consider commenting or subscribing, and I hope you join me again.